Dr. Samira Hassan stared through the observation window of Medical Station Artemis, watching distant stars shimmer against the velvet darkness of deep space. After 3 years as the station's lead xenobiologist, she still found herself mesmerized by the view. The station's position at the edge of known space made it humanity's farthest medical outpost, and sometimes their only hope when things went wrong on long-range expeditions. The peaceful moment shattered as emergency alarms blared through the station. Medical emergency in Bay 3. Unknown vessel approaching. Lieutenant Rivera's voice crackled over the intercom. Dr. Hassan, your presence is required immediately. Samira sprinted through the curved corridors, her mind racing through possible scenarios. Unknown vessel could mean first contact, and first contact often meant medical emergencies. As she reached Bay 3, she found organized chaos, security personnel establishing a perimeter, while medical staff prepared emergency equipment. The bay doors parted to reveal a sight that made her breath catch. 3 beings stood in the airlock, their bodies composed of what appeared to be living crystal. They supported a 4th between them, its crystalline form flickering with a weak inner light. What caught Samira's attention wasn't just their alien nature, but the intricate patterns of light that flowed through their bodies like blood through human veins. Please, one of them stepped forward, their voice resonating like wind through crystal chimes. Our healer Lyrics is dying. Our ship was attacked, and our medical technologies are damaged beyond repair. Lieutenant Rivera kept his weapon lowered but ready. Dr. Hassan, your assessment. Samira approached carefully, medical scanner humming. The injured being's crystalline structure showed complex fracture patterns, but more concerning was the erratic flow of energy through their form. Their biology appears to be based on crystalline matrices that channel energy in specific patterns, she reported. These patterns are degrading rapidly. The lead crystal being turned to her, light patterns shifting in what she interpreted as desperation. I am First Guardian Wren. We are the Viridians. Our people have avoided contact with other species for millennia, but we had no choice. Our sensors detected your medical facility, and you took a chance, Samira finished, already moving to the nearest medical bay. Bring them in. Lieutenant, I need this area cleared of non-essential personnel. Their energy patterns are highly unstable. As they transferred Lyrics to the examination bed, Samira's scanners revealed more detail. The Viridian's crystalline body conducted energy in ways that defied conventional physics. Their wounds weren't just physical damage. Something had disrupted the very patterns that kept them alive. The attack, Wren explained, watching Samira work. They used weapons we've never encountered before. Weapons that somehow interfered with our life energy. Samira's fingers flew across holographic controls, adapting her equipment for readings she'd never anticipated taking. These energy patterns, they're similar to quantum crystalline structures I studied during my research on Europa. Different scale, different complexity, but the basic principles might be compatible. She turned to Wren. I need to know exactly how your healing technologies work. Without that knowledge, any treatment I attempt could make things worse. The Viridians exchanged glances, their light patterns shifting rapidly. Our laws forbid sharing such knowledge with other species, one of the guards said. Then your healer dies, Samira replied bluntly. I can see the degradation accelerating. Within an hour, these patterns will collapse completely. I can help, but not if you let laws written before we met prevent you from saving a life. Wren's crystalline form seemed to vibrate with internal conflict. The penalty for sharing our medical knowledge with outsiders is severe. But the penalty for letting a healer die when we could have prevented it. They turned to Samira, light patterns resolving into new configurations. What do you need to know? For the next 40 minutes, Samira worked frantically, combining her knowledge of quantum crystalline structures with the basic principles Wren explained. She modified medical equipment never designed for crystalline life forms, calibrating energy frequencies by instinct as much as science. This might hurt, she warned, positioning the modified regenerator. I'm going to try to reinforce your natural energy patterns with an artificial matrix, giving your system time to heal itself. As she activated the device, Lyrix's entire form blazed with light. The other Viridians stepped back, their patterns showing clear alarm. For a terrifying moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, the chaotic energy flows began to stabilize. New patterns emerged, stronger than before. Lyrix's eyes opened, revealing depths that seemed to contain entire galaxies. They sat up slowly, examining their own restored patterns with evident wonder. "How?" they asked, their melodic voice barely a whisper. "This shouldn't be possible. No other species has ever understood our physiology well enough to affect healing." "Sometimes," Samara replied, checking her readings with a small smile. "It takes an outside perspective to see new possibilities." She turned to Ren. "Your healer will need rest, but they should make a full recovery. Though I'd very much like to understand what kind of weapons could cause this kind of damage. For purely medical reasons, of course." Before Ren could respond, the station's alarms blared again. Lieutenant Rivera's voice was tense over the intercom. "Dr. Hassan, we have multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. They're using the same energy signatures as the vessel that attacked our guests." Samara met Lyrix's crystalline gaze, seeing her own concern reflected in those star-filled eyes. Whatever had brought the Viridians to her medical bay, it clearly wasn't over. And somehow, she suspected her understanding of their unique biology was about to become very important indeed. The approaching ships loomed on Medical Station Artemis's long-range scanners like predatory birds circling their prey. In the medical bay, Dr. Samira Hassan watched First Guardian Ren and Healer Lyrix examine the tactical display, their crystalline forms casting prismatic light across the holographic images. 7 vessels, Ren reported grimly, all equipped with the same resonance weapons that nearly killed Lyrix. "They're not here to negotiate." Lieutenant Rivera entered the bay, his expression tense. "Station defenses are at maximum, but we've never encountered weapons like these. Dr. Hassan, could your scans of Lyrix's injuries tell us anything useful about defending against them?" Samira pulled up her medical data, mind racing through possibilities. "The weapons don't just damage their crystalline structures, they disrupt the energy patterns that keep them alive. It's like introducing a virus into a computer system, but with devastating physical effects." "A crude but accurate analogy," Lyrix said, moving to examine the medical readings. Their crystalline form had regained its strength, but Samara noticed they still moved carefully, like someone recovering from a major surgery. These weapons shouldn't exist. The knowledge to create them was sealed away centuries ago, when they nearly destroyed our civilization in the Great Schism. "Then how did these attackers get them?" Rivera demanded. "There are factions among our people," Ren explained, light patterns shifting in what Samara was learning to recognize as anger, who believe contact with other species will corrupt us. "They call themselves the Pure Crystal Movement. If they've recovered the forbidden weapons, they'll use them to ensure no other Viridian ever seeks help from outsiders." Lyrix finished, "by destroying both us and this station." Samira studied her medical readings more closely. "What if we could turn their weapons against them? The same principles I used to heal Lyrix might work on a larger scale, create a shield that doesn't just block their attacks, but redirects them." "Impossible," one of the Viridian guards stated. "Our most advanced healers have never managed to adapt healing energies for defense." "Your most advanced healers never worked with human medical technology," Samira countered. She turned to Lyrix. "You felt what I did during your treatment. The combination of our technologies created something entirely new. If we could scale it up, the Council would execute us all," the guard protested. "Using our healing arts as weapons." "Not as weapons," Lyrix interrupted, their voice carrying harmonics that made the guard step back. "As protection. There's a difference." They faced Samira, their internal light pulsing with determination. "What do you need?" The next hour was a blur of activity. While Rivera coordinated station defenses, Samira and Lyrics worked to modify the station's shield generators. They combined human power systems with crystalline healing matrices in ways neither of their species had imagined possible. The resonance has to be perfect, Lyrics explained, manipulating energy flows through a modified medical crystal. Too strong, and it could shatter every crystalline being on the station. Too weak, and the weapons will tear through us like we're not even here. Samira adjusted her calculations, acutely aware of the enemy ships drawing closer. Like tuning a musical instrument, she mused, but the instrument is the size of a space station, and if we hit the wrong note, everyone dies. An interesting metaphor, Lyrics said, their light patterns shifting in what might have been amusement. You have an unusual way of seeing things, Dr. Hassan. Samira, she corrected absently, focused on the calibrations. I think if we're breaking all your society's laws about sharing technology, we can use first names. Lyrics's patterns rippled in a way she hadn't seen before. Our people don't have individual names in the way humans do. Each pattern of light, each resonance, is unique to the individual. But you may call me liar. It's closer to what I am. Before Samira could respond, the station shuddered under its first direct hit. Warning lights flashed as the conventional shields strained against the resonance weapons. Shields at 60%. Rivera's voice crackled over the comm. Whatever you're doing, do it fast. Samira looked at Lyre, seeing her own mix of fear and determination reflected in their crystalline form. Ready? No, Lyre replied, light pattern swirling. But necessity rarely waits for readiness. They activated the modified shields together. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then energy began to flow through the station's hull in patterns that mimicked the life force of the Viridians themselves. The next enemy blast struck the new shield and scattered like light through a prism. It's working, Samira exclaimed, watching the readings. The shield isn't just blocking their attacks, it's absorbing the energy and using it to grow stronger. The enemy ships fired again and again, but each shot only reinforced the protective field around the station. Through the medical bay viewport, Samira could see their weapons' fire refracting in beautiful, deadly patterns. Remarkable, Lyre whispered, watching the display. Your understanding of our biology, combined with your species' innovative thinking, you've created something our healers would have considered impossible. We created it, Samira corrected. Neither of us could have done this alone. She paused, studying their light patterns. Though I suspect we're both going to face some interesting conversations with our respective authorities about this collaboration. Lyre's form seemed to shimmer with what might have been laughter. Indeed, the pure crystal movement sought to prevent cooperation between our species. Instead, they forced us to prove just how powerful such cooperation can be. The enemy ships began to retreat, their weapons useless against the hybrid shield. But as Samira watched them flee, she knew this was only the beginning. They had done more than just defend the station. They had shattered centuries of Viridian isolation and proven that their species could work together in ways neither had imagined. What happens now? She asked quietly. Lyre's patterns shifted into something more serious. Now we face the consequences of progress and hope that what we've built here is strong enough to withstand the storm that's coming. In the aftermath of the attack, Medical Station Artemis hummed with nervous energy. Dr. Samira Hassan stood in her lab, examining data from the hybrid shield system, while Lyre studied a series of medical readings with increasing concern. 3 more cases in the past hour, Lyre reported, their crystalline form pulsing with worry. All showing the same symptoms I had when I first arrived, but there's no evidence of weapons fire. Samira moved to examine the readings. The affected Viridian's energy patterns showed the same chaotic degradation she treated in Lyre, but the progression was slower, more insidious. It's like their core resonance is being disrupted from within, she mused. Could the weapons have had some kind of delayed effect? Impossible, First Guardian Wren said from the doorway. Their usually brilliant form seemed dimmed with exhaustion. These Viridians were nowhere near the battle. Some never left the medical bay. Lieutenant Rivera entered behind Ren, his face grim. "We've completed our analysis of the enemy ship's debris. You're going to want to see this." He activated a holographic display showing complex molecular structures. "We found traces of an unknown compound in their weapon systems. It's not just a power source. It's designed to interface with crystalline structures." "A bioweapon?" Samira breathed, the implications hitting her. "They weaponize the resonance technology into something that could be administered secretly." The attack on Lyre, the battle, it was all a distraction. Lyre's patterns shifted rapidly as they examined the molecular data. These formations, they're based on sacred healing crystals, perverted into something toxic. Only someone with access to our most guarded medical knowledge could have created this. "The pure crystal movement has deeper support than we thought," Ren concluded. "They're not just zealots with stolen weapons. They have allies among our highest ranks." A sharp alarm from the medical sensors interrupted them. One of the affected Viridian's patterns had begun to destabilize more rapidly. Samira rushed to the patient's side, already calibrating her hybrid treatment system. "Their core temperature is dropping too fast," she reported, fingers flying over the controls. "The standard treatment isn't working. The toxin must be adapting to our countermeasures." Lyre joined her, their own healing energies merging with the human medical equipment. Together, they managed to stabilize the patient, but Samira could see the strain it took on Lyre's still recovering form. "We can't keep doing this individually," Lyre said quietly. "There will be more cases. We need to understand exactly how this toxin works and find a way to protect everyone at once." Samira nodded, already pulling up research data. "We need to combine our knowledge again, but deeper this time. I need to understand exactly how your healing crystals work at the molecular level." "That knowledge is forbidden to outsiders," one of the Viridian guards protested. "The Council. The Council's own members may be trying to kill us." Lyre cut in, their voice carrying harmonics that made the crystals in the lab resonate. "We're beyond such restrictions now." Over the next several hours, Lyre shared secrets of Viridian healing arts that had never been revealed to any other species. Samira combined this knowledge with advanced human biochemistry and quantum theory, building a deeper understanding of how the toxin attacked its victims. "Look at this," she said finally, highlighting a particular molecular structure. "The toxin doesn't just disrupt your natural resonance, it uses your own healing response against you. The more your body tries to fight it, the faster it spreads. Like an autoimmune disease in humans," Lyre observed, having learned as much about human medicine as Samira had about Viridian healing. "Our strongest natural defenses become our greatest vulnerability." "But if we could adjust the frequency of your healing crystals," Samira suggested, "tune them to work with your body's responses instead of against them." She was interrupted by a priority alert from station security. Rivera's voice was tense over the comm. "Dr. Hassan, we've detected unauthorized transmissions from within the station. Someone's been sending encrypted data to the pure crystal movement." "They have agents here," Ren realized, "watching everything we do, reporting our every discovery." Samira met Lyre's crystalline gaze. "Then we need to give them something worth reporting. If they want to use our cooperation to spread fear among your people, let's show them exactly what human and Viridian science can accomplish together." She pulled up the station's research database, starting a new project file. "We're not just going to cure their toxin. We're going to create something entirely new. A healing protocol that combines the best of both our methods, something that proves cooperation makes us stronger than isolation ever could." "They'll try to stop us," Lyre warned, but their pattern showed not hesitation but anticipation. "Once they realize what we're attempting." "Let them try," Samira replied, already deep in calculations. They wanted to use medicine as a weapon. Let's show them how powerful healing can really be. As they worked, Samira couldn't help but notice how naturally their different approaches complemented each other. Human analytical precision merged with Viridian intuitive understanding of energy patterns, creating possibilities neither species had imagined before. But time was running out. More Viridians were showing symptoms, and the toxin was becoming more aggressive with each new case. Somewhere on the station, hidden eyes watched their every move, reporting to those who would keep their species divided forever. What they were attempting went beyond medicine. It was a declaration that the future belonged to those willing to reach across the boundaries of species and culture, to find strength in their differences rather than fear them. The only question was whether they could complete their work before their enemies moved to stop them once and for all. The emergency alert blared through Medical Station Artemis, just as Dr. Samira Hassan was finalizing her calculations. In the research lab, holographic displays showed the deteriorating conditions of dozens of infected Viridians, their crystalline energy patterns becoming more unstable by the hour. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, Lieutenant Rivera's voice crackled over the intercom. 15 vessels, heavily armed. They're demanding immediate surrender of all research data, and he paused, the execution of any humans involved in Viridian medical procedures. Lear's crystalline form pulsed with anger, their patterns shifting like storm clouds. They mean to erase all evidence of our cooperation, not just the medical breakthroughs, but everyone who knows they're possible. Samira studied the molecular simulations floating before her. How long until they're in weapons range? 20 minutes, maybe less, Rivera replied. Our hybrid shields are still functioning, but they're broadcasting energy signatures we've never seen before. Whatever they're using, it's more powerful than their previous weapons. First Guardian Ren entered the lab, their usually brilliant form dimmed with concern. We intercepted part of their transmission. They're led by High Healer Vex of the Pure Crystal Movement. They've branded us all traitors and claim human contamination has corrupted our sacred healing arts. Contamination. Samira laughed without humor, gesturing to the displays showing their combined research. We've advanced Viridian healing techniques further in days than they have in centuries. The combination of our approaches has created possibilities neither species imagined. That's exactly what they fear, Liar said quietly. Their patterns shifted to something Samira had learned to recognize as deep contemplation. But maybe we can use that fear against them. Samira turned to them, seeing an idea forming in those crystalline depths. What are you thinking? The toxin works by turning our healing resonance against us, Liar explained, moving to the central display. But our work with the hybrid shields proved that human technology can modify and amplify our natural frequencies. What if instead of trying to cure the toxin, we embrace its basic principle? Use its own mechanism to distribute the cure, Samira finished, mind racing through the possibilities. Create a cascading resonance effect that could reach every infected Viridian at once. The energy requirements would be massive, Ren warned. And one miscalculation could shatter every crystalline being on this station. We don't have a choice, Liar replied. The toxin is spreading faster now. Even if we defeat Vex's fleet, how many more will die while we treat them one by one? Samira was already modifying their equipment, combining medical scanners with crystalline healing matrices in ways that would have seemed impossible days ago. We'll need to use the station's power core to generate the initial pulse, then let the resonance build naturally through the Viridian's own energy networks. Like a ripple in a pond, Liar observed, helping to calibrate the frequencies. But the resonance has to be perfect, too strong, and it could cascade out of control. Too weak, and the toxin will overwhelm it. 15 minutes to weapons range, Rivera updated them. Whatever you're planning, do it fast. Samira looked at the complex web of calculations and energy patterns before her. Everything she'd learned about Viridian physiology, everything she and Liar had discovered together, had led to this moment. I'll need to monitor the resonance from the primary medical bay, she said. It has the strongest sensors. I'll have to be there too, Liar added. My crystal matrix can help stabilize the initial pulse. They turned to Samira, their patterns showing concern. But at that range, if something goes wrong, then we'll be the first to know, she finished with a grim smile. Story of our partnership, isn't it? Breaking new ground, hoping we don't shatter in the process. As they made their final preparations, Samira couldn't help but reflect on how far they'd come. When Lyre had first arrived, barely alive, she'd seen only a fascinating medical challenge. Now, watching them work, seeing how their different approaches strengthened each other, she understood why the pure crystal movement was so afraid. This wasn't just about medicine anymore. It was about proving that diversity made them stronger, not weaker. 10 minutes to weapons range, Rivera reported. Enemy ships are charging weapons. These energy readings, they're like nothing we've seen before. Neither is what we're about to do, Samira replied, making her final adjustments. She turned to Lyre, who was connecting their own crystalline matrix to the medical systems. Ready? Lyre's pattern swirled with a complex mix of determination and something deeper, something Samira had begun to recognize in herself as well. Together, they said simply. They activated the modified healing pulse. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Samira felt it, a vibration that started in her bones and spread outward, making the very air seem to sing. Lyre's form began to glow brighter, their patterns synchronizing with the station's power systems as the resonance built. Through the medical bay viewport, she could see the approaching enemy fleet, their weapons charging with ominous light. But between them and the station, something extraordinary was happening. The space itself seemed to crystallize, refracting light in impossible ways as the healing resonance expanded outward. Energy levels are approaching critical, Rivera warned. The station's power grid wasn't designed for this kind of output. Samira watched her readings carefully, making micro-adjustments to keep the resonance stable. Beside her, Lyre's form blazed like a star, their natural healing energies amplified by human technology into something entirely new. First wave of the pulse is reaching the infected Viridians, she reported, hardly daring to breathe as she watched the results. Their patterns are stabilizing. The toxin is breaking down. But as the resonance continued to build, she noticed something else. The crystalline effect in space wasn't just beautiful, it was changing the very way energy moved through that region. The enemy fleet's weapons fire seemed to twist and distort as it approached. 5 minutes to weapons range, Rivera announced. But these readings, something's happening to their targeting systems. Samira met Lyre's gaze, seeing her own realization mirrored in their crystalline depths. They weren't just curing the toxin. They were about to demonstrate just how powerful the combination of their sciences could be. And Vex's fleet was about to learn exactly why the pure crystal movement had been right to fear this collaboration, but for all the wrong reasons. The crystalline resonance field surrounding Medical Station Artemis pulsed with impossible colors as High Healer Vex's fleet opened fire. Their advanced weapons, designed to shatter both shields and Viridian crystal forms, struck the field and transformed. The energy twisted and refracted, turning from destructive force into healing waves that rippled back through space. Their weapons, Lyre observed, their own form glowing brilliantly as they helped maintain the resonance field. They're based on corrupted healing frequencies. And now we're purifying them. Samira finished, watching in amazement as the twisted energy was reformed by their hybrid field. Everything they created to destroy is being transformed into its original purpose: healing. Through the medical bay viewport, they could see the effect spreading through Vex's fleet. Crystalline structures throughout their ships began to resonate with the pure frequency, overriding the corrupted forms they'd been forced into. Weapon systems failed as they reverted to their original healing configurations. Enemy vessels are losing power, Lieutenant Rivera reported, his voice thick with disbelief. Their systems are realigning themselves. I've never seen anything like it. The toxin levels in the infected Viridians, Samira announced, checking her medical readings, they're dropping rapidly. The resonance isn't just neutralizing it. It's teaching their bodies how to prevent it from taking hold again. First Guardian Wren burst into the medical bay, their patterns showing urgent excitement. We're receiving transmissions from Vex's fleet. Multiple ships are reporting their crews are standing down. They're asking for healing. Of course they are, Lyre said softly. They've just felt what true healing can be, not twisted into a weapon, but embraced as a connection between all living things. They turned to Samira, their patterns shifting with deep emotion. This is what the pure crystal movement feared most. Not that humans would corrupt our healing arts, but that together we would transcend them. The next hours passed in a blur of activity. As the resonance field stabilized, Samira and Lyre worked tirelessly to treat both the originally infected Viridians and those from Vex's fleet who had been exposed to the corrupted crystals. Each case taught them more about how their combined approach could achieve things neither species could manage alone. High Healer Vex is asking to speak with you both, Rivera informed them late in the ship's night cycle. He seems change. They found Vex in a secure medical room, his once imposing crystalline form now humbled. The corrupted patterns that had marked his allegiance to the pure crystal movement had been replaced by cleaner, more harmonious frequencies. I felt it, he said without preamble, his voice carrying harmonics of wonder and shame. When your resonance field touched my ship, I felt what true healing could be. All my certainty about keeping our species pure, about the corruption of outside influence, it shattered like flawed crystal. Because you finally experience what we've been learning, Samira replied. That strength comes not from isolation, but from the harmony of different approaches working together. The Council will resist, Vex warned. Centuries of tradition don't change in a day, even with proof like this. Then we'll show them again, Lyre declared. Their patterns shifted to include Samira in a way that made their meaning clear. They faced this future together. Every patient we treat, every new discovery we make, will demonstrate what's possible when we stop fearing difference and start learning from it. Days later, Samira stood in her lab, preparing reports for both Earth's medical authority and the Viridian Council. The station had become a symbol of something new, a place where humans and Viridians could freely share their knowledge, creating healing techniques that belonged to neither species alone, but pointed toward a future they could build together. Still working? Lyre asked from the doorway, their patterns showing affectionate amusement. They had chosen to remain on Artemis as the official liaison between their peoples, though Samira suspected there were more personal reasons for their decision. Just finishing up, she replied, smiling at their familiar presence. Though I doubt either of our bureaucracies is ready for a report that basically says all your careful regulations about species isolation were wrong, and here's the proof. They'll adapt. Lyre moved to stand beside her, their crystalline form complementing her human one in ways that now seemed natural, just as we did, though perhaps with a bit more resistance and a lot less shooting. Samira laughed, remembering how far they'd come from that first desperate meeting in the medical bay. You know, when I took this posting at humanity's farthest medical station, I thought I might encounter some interesting alien biology. I never imagined that you would help revolutionize two species' approach to healing. Lyre's patterns shifted playfully, or that you would find yourself working so closely with a crystalline being. Both, she admitted, though I'm glad I was wrong about what was possible. She gestured to the labs beyond, where human and Viridian medical personnel were already working together on new projects. Look at them, already taking what we discovered and pushing it further. This is just the beginning, isn't it? Of many things, Lyre agreed, their patterns expressing emotions that needed no translation between species. Through the lab's viewport, the stars shone steadily, no longer seeming quite so distant or alien. Somewhere out there, other species waited to be encountered, other boundaries waited to be bridged. But here, in this place where healing had transcended the barriers between species, something profound had already changed. The galaxy was vast, but its people, crystal or flesh, energy or matter, were learning that the greatest discoveries came not from fearing their differences, but from finding ways to let them shine together.